our rivals. So our suggestion was, in terms of creative skills, to do this we'd like help to create a video to run on our website to show the hotel, its surroundings, the quality of the rooms, and provide potential guests with an indication of what they would experience by staying here. Fairly tame, I think, as a challenge, but we thought there should be an inspiration. So our hotel has outstanding views, but we compete with many hotels and guest houses in the vicinity and provide a similar service. So what's the creative challenge in there? Get people thinking that this is worthwhile. When we did that, we then, we could have another one. Say, our objective is to attract more wealthy customers. So the first part is the same, but wealthy customers. And we'd like to create a completely different visitor experience. So this would be an innovation in service. So coming up with an innovative service in this hotel. We'd like a script writer and an actor to help us with the themes and some sort of presentation. So the inspiration was, our hotel was once the residence of a famous writer. I thought I was thinking of Sligo, poet, really. And there are many different themes for events that we could work on. So could you get somebody in that arena? I actually thought you could even have a screen painter as well. So it could be about events. It could be about the whole customer experience, that when they come to this particular hotel. I'm not quite sure whether that's inspired you, but that gives you an idea of a challenge. So there we are. So, questions or concerns, ideas for challenges? Not asking you to tell us your challenge at all. I think that's business confidential in terms of.
Yeah, we're doing well for time, so we do have time for.
I've got some other questions and answers cases if you want as
no,
well.
But
so
people can come back. I think it's great to get the sample challenges, and what really struck me with that last one that Sally had worked up, because some people have been asking me in the break, what if we know that we are at a growth stage and we really want to get involved in this program, but we sort of know where we want to get to, but we don't actually know what the project is. And I think that last challenge illustrates that that's okay, as long as you know what it is that your challenge is. If in that example, if you can say, we want to get to, in this case, wealthy customers, we think we have this unique selling point, but we don't know what that is. We want people to work with us on that. And I think because a lot of the examples today have been design orientated, it's good to see an example to get you thinking about how you really can work with creatives in a very different way. I love that idea of bringing in an actor or a theatre practitioner to help you brainstorm, actually, and to help you come up with the themes that you might then use to sell your business in the next phase. So just to keep thinking about that, some people will have projects ready to go that we'll have touched on today, but some of you won't, and that's okay. And if you want to present your challenge to the channel, or to the panel rather, they might suggest creatives that they think would be good for you to work with. So we'll just open it up to questions, if anyone has any. There's a microphone there. Or if anyone has any, if anyone would like any more case studies or examples out of Sally, to shout now.
Just to add, something I was asked during the break was, could you submit more than one challenge? And I think, as Sally has demonstrated there, that's sort of the same hotel, but they have two different challenges. So you might have two different things, and I don't think there's any reason why you couldn't. And using our independent panel, we'd look at that and say, well, this one is better for shortlisting at this stage, So if you have a number of ideas, we've got them.
Yeah, there's a question here. Just wait for the microphones coming behind you.
I'm well.
Well, we're recording it, so it's good to have the question.
I'm curious about whether you can be on both sides. I came here as a creative, and I found out too late about the presentation a month ago. So I came here as a creative, ready to offer my services, but then after listening to all of this, I could definitely have some challenges of my own I would like to bet.
It's a great question.
Can you register on both sides?
Yes and no. So if you fulfill the eligibility criteria for the industry side, then yes. And the main thing with that is obviously the four industry sectors. So if you fit within tourism, technology, agri-food or life sciences, there's no reason why, if you fulfill that main eligibility criteria and also the other few that are on the website, which is about where your business is and the fact that you're in a growth phase, there's no reason why you couldn't present a challenge, because that's specifically about you applying for a voucher and applying for that collaboration. And I think it would be very worth your while, if you have a creative service, to also register for the directory, because the important point with that directory is that it will be built up as an interactive resource that we can use to promote creative businesses in the region outside of this voucher scheme, and it will be in existence into the long term. So even if, as a creative, you don't get matched and you don't fulfill a voucher in this first round, you still have an opportunity to profile your business, and we can sell your business on your behalf. So I think it's definitely for any creative, that's the extra added value. It's very worthwhile registering on that side. And if you have a challenge, please do. And even if it's not suitable for this round, it might be suitable for the next one. So I think always apply. Yeah, just behind this lady here.
Yeah. Are events eligible, tourism events eligible within the voucher scheme?
I might actually ask Mary to come and join me up here. I don't know if Mary can be heard for some of those more specific ones.
I suppose the first thing would be they're absolutely possible in terms of the solution. It would depend on what the business challenge is. So could you give me just a little bit more, is it like incorporating events into the hotel, hospitality sector, or?
Not necessarily. It's an event. I'll give it a.
And I don't want you to, I don't want you to disclose anything.
No. What I'm thinking, I'm a marketing consultant working on the National Sheepdog Trials.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a very specific event that is located. Happens at a different location every year.
Yes.
It's happening in Donegal this year.
Yes.
Okay. So the event is run by a local committee who have no funds.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm thinking is I would really love to be able to record the event. I'd love to get some sort of creative involved in some sort of video clips, during the event.
Yeah. No,
is there something?
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity there?
Not really, in the sense that this is very much for growth stage businesses.
Right.
So it
okay.
has to have a commercial dimension to it. It isn't really suitable for, say, a voluntary group who might produce or run a professional event or festival, where it's really about how could a business improve its sales, its visibility, to increase its growth, to increase its market share. That's very much where it's coming from.
Hi, I have a question. Let's say I know somebody who might be interested, and let's say he submits now in the first round. If he's not going to be matched, does he have to submit for another round as well, or is he going to stay there in a...
Yeah, no, once you, if you're a creative enterprise and you meet the eligibility criteria which are on our website, once you register, and your registration is verified against that criteria, then you're on there. So just as Aoife said, the advantages for creatives who, through no fault of their own, their skills just may not be the skills that are needed to match the challenges we receive from businesses, they're profiled as creative companies transnationally. So for creatives who suffer so much from issues of isolation, scale, accessing new markets because they're so small and they're just trying to keep the show on the road, as I said earlier, there's a huge advantage. And that's one of the core ideas behind the mobile application, as well as SMEs and companies who have challenges being able to locate you and identify where you are and procure your services. This mobile application will be available across Europe. So your business immediately becomes visible at a European level, at a transnational level, across the northern periphery, and nationally. So there's a huge advantage there in addressing issues of scale, addressing issues of visibility. A lot of, for example, small micro businesses who are profiled in the WDC study choose the West because of the landscape, because of the lifestyle, because of the culture, and they're huge inspirations, as Sally said, for creatives to locate here. A lot of them are freelancers and can work remotely, but they absolutely, to survive and to earn a living and to stay in the West, they need to connect. They need to connect nationally, they need to connect transnationally, and they need to connect at a European and an international level. So hopefully that gives you some idea as to the advantages and the benefits. So companies can, beyond the programme, as Aoife said, have challenges that they can find a creative supplier to meet once they get a sense of the process and how it works. They can do that very simply and automatically. The brokerage element will be developed through the pilot, so that infrastructure will be in place. But for creatives, there's huge advantages. So in talking about creatives, linking with creatives, again, just to give you an example of how they could get new income, they could go for, they could cluster. Sharon mentioned the idea of clustering earlier. Creatives could cluster. Google, for example, might put up a tender for a big procurement tender in Paris. On their own, a film producer or a technician might be far too small to even think about going for something like that. But the website and the mobile app will give them the opportunity to say, those skills are in Scotland and in Northern Ireland. I'm going to contact them and see if they're interested in tendering with me as a cluster to meet that contract. So there's lots of different ways that it can support.
All right, and let's go both ways. Let's say I'm with Sligo Tourism. If we have a challenge and it's not going to be meet with any creative in first stage, do we have to reapply in the second?
Sorry, explain that to me.
If I understand correctly, so that with Sligo Tourism as an example, if you had a challenge, you applied in the first round, but if it wasn't successful, should the industry reapply in the second round, or does their challenge stand?
No, any challenges that the panel deem meet the criteria, any good challenges that are around innovation, that demonstrate some type of innovation that we've described here today, or that demonstrate a commercial benefit to the company. All of those challenges, if they are relevant and they meet the criteria, they'll all be considered for matches with creative enterprises. Yeah, but if you're, sorry, just to finish that point, if you are unsuccessful, say the challenge, the bones of it are there, but as Sally's model and process pointed out, you haven't just thought it through maybe enough, and it might need another bit of work, then by all means, you'll have the chance to work it up between round 1 and round 2, and there's nothing to stop you going again in round 2. Yeah.
I'd just like to add to that, if you aren't successful in round 1, that you make contact with us. We'll write to everybody and let them know how they're doing. We won't be writing in the letter why you weren't successful, but feel free of making contact with us and we'll tell you. You learn by your mistakes, and this is a learning process, so we want to give that feedback. So the next time, or other things you're applying for, you learn, I was weak on my presentation, I was weak on whatever. So
or the challenge just wasn't clear enough.
Yeah. So give the feedback.
Yeah, and remember as well, in Sally's example, Sally has, given a very simple and good example of how to structure it, okay? But there's no onus on the business to suggest what type of skills they need. It's helpful for us in assessing it, but all the business has to focus on is, what is my business challenge? How could working with a creative help me grow my business, increase my visibility, increase my sales, help me to access new markets, help me with distribution networks or routes? That's all the business has to think about, and that's all we're looking for. The rest is useful, and it adds and helps the panel see your challenge in the round more. But all we need is the challenge.
Anyone else? Because I know Sally has a couple of slides she just wants to use as a roundup, so I'll just see if no one else has any questions. I might let Sally go ahead, and then we'll do some closing up remarks.
Yeah. So I put for you some other places you can look at case studies. I was involved in a previous European project, which is Design Management Europe, and I've got a couple of little stories. You can look all over Europe of businesses managing design. You've also got the, if you're not convinced, the Design Business Association in the UK,